Calling this meeting to order. It is not 6:30. It is, what is this, 6:50? All right, we have, do we need to do a roll call on the,
No, since everybody's present, we're just recording this for the purpose of taking the minutes.
all right, so everybody's present, which is awesome. Let's see, approval of minutes from the 28th of February. Those should be attached. They are. So if you see any corrections that need to be made. Any corrections? No.
Questions? No
Okay.
corrections?
All right. Hearing no corrections, I will call that question. And I get a motion to approve the minutes from the 28th.
So moved.
And a second? I guess that would be me, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, seconded by me. There we go. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Abstentions? Okay,
Not eligible.
great.
He looked at me.
All right, so let's see. Any no's? Just figured I'd ask just in case somebody wanted to change their vote. Okay, then motion passes. The minutes have been approved. All right, upcoming events to communicate. What do we know? What's on the top of your minds?
There's a street, is the street dance coming
The
up?
street dance is coming up from the chamber.
Will that
It's
be,
in June, I don't, 24th, 25th,
so that'll be too late for the newsletter, but we can, okay.
maybe yes, it'll be too late for the deadline too, to probably get pictures of that.
It should go on the web somewhere. Okay. And that's from the chamber.
Right.
Summer Street Dancing Festival, June 25th.
All right, so we can work to promote that a little bit. Let's see, anything else coming up July?
Coon Creek is the big one, obviously.
Right. Do we want to mention that Burlington has fireworks for all the newer residents who are?
Like posted all the history of the town this morning on Facebook.
Did you really?
I don't know why. Bunch of pictures.
I have not looked yet.
It was his personal. I can't remember now. I think it was Maryland.
I think maybe like the local community, if you're looking for 4th of July, the local communities, because Huntley does a big one, Burlington,
Yeah.
Is it Caneland? Does a big one?
This doesn't get mailed till after the 4th, though, so people don't.
Oh,
it
it
doesn't?
doesn't? Oh,
Oh,
I think
okay.
it goes, I think the deadline is like I can't remember, we got the deadline, but I think we mail them out on the 2nd or 3rd, whatever that first Monday
It
is.
used to be the weekend after Coon Creek, but so I think it'll be before this year, but you have the Threshing Bee and Steam Show.
Yes, it's like the second weekend in August,
I
like
think so.
around the 10th, 11th, 12th, something
Yeah.
like that. Okay.
So if this is like an end of July receipt or middle of July, then that would be a good one to
I
have.
mean, I think they'll probably have it by the 7th or 8th, if I
Okay.
remember.
And Coon Creek would be in that, since that would be still in his letter.
I mean, it's been suggested that we announce the grand opening of Streetscape, but I'm a little nervous. It's right now, everything's on schedule, but
Right.
on Monday I'll breathe a lot easier because Monday we'll have the water main installed and that will be the last mystery. In fact, I just notified everybody this afternoon, gonna send a final email in the morning that we have to shut everybody's water down from 9 to 5 on Monday. Just the downtown businesses, but they're
Right.
really the only one impacted, well, the two, doctor's office and the chiropractor, but both of them were really good about rescheduling.
Okay.
Both only had half days on Monday anyway,
Uh,
and they just rescheduled. So,
It's awesome.
and that's not a problem. Of course, Ed wasn't very happy.
the water main's not in, because they covered the whole street where they dug up.
No, they have, on the east side, they just kind of, It's just, it's not really backfilled.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
There's something that I might want to check is, the farmer's market in, July was going to have the hearing, van there to do a hearing. I don't know whether we put that in the newsletter, but I just got notification late today that that's not going to happen and it's going to be moved to August.
Oh, we could put that in.
So I don't know whether it was put into the newsletter already that the hearing van was
I don't
going
remember
to be
seeing
there.
anything in the last issue.
I
I
don't.
can certainly put it in for August.
But it's going to be in August now. I just received that notification today.
Okay,
Cool.
and then Coon Creek is when?
20, I gotta check that, don't remember it in my head. August, it's,
August 25th is the day we're supposed to finish. the
yeah,
streets.
Thursday, the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th,
25 through 28.
25 through 28, yeah.
Okay. All right. Farmer's market, it wouldn't hurt to mention again and just give people the dates
For July, you mean?
for July and August.
Yeah, for July and August, it's the,
Well, probably July, August, and September, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
It wouldn't hurt to give them
Yeah,
the dates for
Because
that.
it's what, the third,
it's the
Third
third
Saturday.
Saturday of every month, 9 to 1.
Okay.
is there any big township events happening, do we know, for their senior program in the summer?
Did you guys have a planning meeting for the upcoming year?
We
I haven't seen a
did
special events meeting. Are you on that committee with Linda?
for the
Special
Historical
events.
Society.
I was thinking
those.
the
Oh, no, they were
I got
talking
that
about
one.
setting one up, but I didn't hear any comment come back about a date that they said to do that.
Oh, okay, street dancing festival, music under the oaks, Rosemary Cassie Day, ice cream social. And then Coon Creek.
Okay, and then if we add in the farmer's market and the steam show, that gives a lot of events for that.
One thing, I would like to see the newsletter before it goes to print, just because sometimes there's some funky things that if we just had a second
Yeah,
pair
it's
of
just a matter of
eyes.
timing. We have very little time once we get the final draft, so if you can get it back to us within a day.
Yeah, yeah,
Some of the spacing you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
problem is it's not, unless you know how to fix it, if Bill doesn't know how to fix it, then it doesn't help to tell him that. Yes.
right, now I'm just wondering if I can like look over his shoulder someday and watch how he's,
I mean,
doing it so I can
understands the
figure out.
software. He's been doing this for a long time with.
Yeah.
Amtrak, he wrote their.
Mhm.
application.
what are they
And we actually
using?
changed software to the software he prefers.
Are we using like Publisher or what are we
I
using?
can't remember if it's Publisher or the other one, but whatever it is, we changed from what we had before that he didn't like because A5 used it anyway.
Right.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, we just want to listen in.
Awesome, welcome.
One of the things I brought up, was talking to Heather about was the only thing I thought that was on the front of the newsletter, it should say what month we're actually putting out there.
So like July, August.
Because
or
it-
August,
But
September.
we didn't say that, we just said the spring, summer. That's a long period of time. I think it's better if it's got a month that it's actually being distributed on, so July should have July on it.
I mean, it's a simple change.
It's probably a carryover from before.
That's a good idea.
Six.
When we were doing
We were doing
before,
quarterly. so-
right, it was summer, spring, winter, fall.
Yeah.
Mhm. So I'm sure that we could, okay, so let me review. The new businesses, welcoming those to town. And then mentioning these events, farmer's market, street dance, Rosemary Cassie Day, music under the oaks.
Sign up for comments.
No, no. She has plenty to say.
Okay.
She always has plenty to say. I usually have much up in the audience to hear it.
I'm sure those are margaritas in there.
And then the
Yeah.
street dance, if, it just the fireworks, if we get, depending on what our deadline is.
Yeah, the dates.
Otherwise, yeah. And then the threshing bee, is there anything else coming up in the, I think that was just from our list.
Besides the street dance, any big events coming, we should put in the newsletter.
The farmer's markets, I'm sorry, I wasn't really paying attention.
We've got farmer's market
Okay.
and that the hearing is moved to August, so
Okay.
that'll be in there.
Yeah, so then we have the street dance and then we have, what's the hearing?
There's like a
Band
band coming for hearing tests.
Oh, hearing.
Yes, that kind
Right.
of,
That should
Did you get my message?
not the.
Did you get the message that,
Today?
yeah, just late, an hour ago.
No.
No, I received notification that the Lions organization said that the technician's not available on that date for the July
Oh,
farmers market, so they moved it to the 20th, I think it is, of August, whatever that.
whatever that was. Okay, sure, that's
Yeah,
fine.
so I just received that late today.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll make room for you whenever you come.
Okay. So that's all I have as far as like upcoming events. Is there anything else that, like we had talked about, having, there are words, I'll find them in a minute.
I can't think of it.
Recurring topics, that's what it was, like seasonally recurring topics. Was there anything else that for the summer, late summer, going into late summer that we needed to remind people of?
Probably, yard waste, but, you know,
Yeah, I think they've already been.
the middle of the summer is kind of the dead time for that.
And then are we still on water restriction? We have signs in the village, it's like, you can only water your yard on odd days or even days.
I may have seen one of those signs, but it's never going good.
Okay.
Then
Maybe that's a village board topic to bring up of whether or not those signs are still accurate or. if
They
can
have the
come
same
down.
thing at, in Pingree, and I think it's more a case of.
Yeah. Okay, so I would put that on that. I think,
Didn't we discuss something about maybe clarifying the garbage pickup?
Actually, we had a meeting this week with Blood Brothers, just a couple days ago,
Mhm.
and they're putting together a full one-page insert for this. Oh,
Fantastic.
yeah. And they agreed to put a special mailing.
is it gonna have like,
Mhm.
because I had forgotten and I felt bad about forgetting, but I saw my, a house in my neighborhood had put out a TV and some chemicals on the side, and I'm like, I totally forgot they do that kind of pickup for free.
Yeah, that's actually something, remember, we negotiated the last
Right.
minute, they were gonna have a drop-off point, do it once a month, and then they agreed to do that.
Right, that they agreed, it's still once a month, right?
Actually, what we did with it's different than what Waste Management is, it's the same pickup every month, I forget if it's the second or third.
That's what I mean, I forget what day
Because
it
it's the
is.
same day, you don't have to call ahead.
No, you just leave it out, but you have to put it off to a certain side or whatever, yeah.
Okay, so they're providing,
Yeah, so they're gonna give us a one-page insert, and we're gonna just put it right in our mailer, it'll go right with the newsletter, and that way we don't have to pay for the printing or anything.
that's even.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So it was
that's,
a real good meeting, and there were no procedural things, like not a lot of complaints, no consistent problems with it.
okay,
It might be good to have in this next newsletter, just as, are we on newsletter topics?
yes, yeah.
Maybe a deeper dive, or maybe this is, President Reed's letter is a reminder of what Streetscape is, that it's gonna be opening in August, that we're excited about it. Here's a rendering of what it should look like. What's that?
I said you want him to be on the hook with Blake.
No, we're not putting the date, but like, you've seen a lot of construction. We'd want to share with you again what, we've shared it all. It's been almost a year since we shared that. Here's what that
I'm
would.
happy you guys when he wrote back to Bill with topics. He did respond with some things that he was gonna.
Gotcha, okay.
No,
But that's a good one. And Streetscape was a big
Oh,
one.
wait.
Mike's the one that wants to go out there and say, hey, grand opening.
yeah,
Yeah,
We're doing some other things to get ready for that grand opening.
how could I have forgotten the most pressing topic?
I think we have to celebrate the chicken.
I really, can we please make the title for this, look at all those chickens, please?
Is that from a movie or something?
You're the chairwoman?
Is that from a movie?
Yes, no, it's a, let's just call it a meme, that's the easiest way to explain it.
So me.
Uh-huh, but there's a, so, the chickens, and then I would really like to have a picture of some of our,
How about the
permit holders.
show?
We could have that one.
We have a picture of the very first
The very
permit we
first
applied
permit.
for.
Awesome.
Like at 8, she was standing at the door at 8 o'clock on Friday morning after work.
So long as if in the picture we can black out her information if it shows up in the permit.
No, it's not, but she also agreed. I said, we won't post, don't worry, we won't post it unless you give us permission. She said, oh, you can post it, that's fine.
Yeah, I meant just like if you could see what she wrote on a paper, just cross out the names.
Yeah, but that's all public information. Everything
Well,
else-
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah, that's all for you.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
but also I was in contact with somebody who I believe has permit number 9, who is very excited about the chickens because
Yeah,
they're
they're 9
a
out of
4-H
10.
family.
I heard.
Yeah, they are a 4-H family, and I asked, if I could get a photo to use
Yeah.
for the newsletter, and she said, sure. I said, no guarantees it'll be in it, but it would be nice if we could have one, so that we could show,
We don't have any building permits issued.
So you're saying I have to be here early tomorrow morning to get number 10?
If you want 10, yeah. I
What's
sent
your-
Mike a special email. and said, hey, if you want to get number 10 for Mikey, you're gonna have to hustle up and get back from Charlotte. He said, don't worry, I won't be coming there.
Okay, let's see, we also asked for construction updates last time. What construction updates could we,
I can tell you that all 4 projects are on schedule, public works projects.
Okay.
We just spoke a little bit briefly earlier about Gas Road is going really well. The culverts are in now, the fire hydrants are in, the line is in, so now it's down to the valves themselves, the valve. So that's on schedule. Route 20 is starting to be kind of a mess now, even up north
So
by the tollway.
47 is bad.
Yeah, 47. I think
I
that's.
don't understand. They like paved 2 strips, not even close to each other.
They're raising hell about 47. Apparently there've been several accidents.
Yes.
Semi jackknifed on this slick.
because they oiled it and then left it, and then it rained. But whatever product they used was, yes, we understand oil and water, but it was bad.
So Route 20 is on schedule. It's kind of a mess, but that's not a very long project. and We're only like a quarter mile of it. Then State 72 is going well.
When is that supposed to reopen? How many weeks was that?
State 72, gosh, is it 16 weeks or 17? I'm trying to remember.
The state was closed?
No, State is 16 weeks. Oh, State is 7, I want to say,
I know the whole project isn't finalized until like October.
yeah, that's the end of October, but no, that's
It's
actually.
like 7 weeks or something.
I think it was more than that, because it's almost the same time as, we started earlier and we finished almost the same time. As far as reopen, same time they reopened. So I want to say it's middle of August, I just don't have it.
Okay.
If you want to.
Okay. Home construction update, do we have any new,
Actually, did I misspoke?
occupancy?
Oh, downtown. No,
We're not at that stage yet, occupancy permits.
there is not an occupancy permit for James Farm, but there looks like there's a couple houses that are really close. And I
Okay.
sent you all an invitation just today for the cutting. Yeah.
Yeah, those places look nice up there. That's starting.
Yeah, there's one house that has everything's buttoned up and the coach lights are on, so I have a feeling that might be the first one that gets an occupancy permit.
That would be nice.
They have 20 foundations, under construction.
Okay. Do we have any information on the Safe Routes to School grant?
Nothing, no.
Nothing at this time. Okay. And as far as the,
Sorry, we received a confirmation of the award, but not the actual funding letter.
okay,
So we're official,
but we're not at a place yet. Okay, the crossing at Lakewood and Big Timber Elementary. Do
yes.
we have anything that we can share yet?
Not that we can share, but I did
Okay.
see what I believe will be the final design went from Crown to KDOT on Friday.
Okay,
And so now we're waiting for KDOT. It'll go to the KDOT Transportation Committee and then to the county board. And we're still expecting approval. I want to say by the second week in July. So everything's on schedule.
okay. So could we put a little note in there that says, please check the village website or Facebook for up-to-date information as you prepare for your kids to go back to school?
That area, aren't we gonna have to do some announcement because they're changing the speed limit there?
Yeah, but I just think anything that we would announce now would be premature since it hasn't been approved by Kane County yet. It could still change. I mean, the engineers, technically, the engineers still need to review the final submittal from Crown
Gotcha.
that they received on Friday and then make a recommend. I mean, it seems to address everything that the engineers had asked for. So it seems to be like, I think it'll be probably recommended to the KDOT committee and then to the county board.
And they're still not putting any lights or anything there.
Just the flashing lights.
Yeah.
So is a statement saying, please check the village website for updated info
I would think it's more
as we get
the
closer to
school.
school?
I mean, this is a school situation, so that's much village. I personally, I think school transportation is more of a school issue.
It
If
is,
you
but
want,
Well, it's the residents of this village.
Right.
it's the
That's-
question of whether we want to be the target or not.
And you had a lot of board members not happy with the situation up
Oh,
there.
I know that, yeah. But the question is really, do we want to be the ones out there posting the information and taking all the grief, or do we want the school district to be?
Or is our
They're the ones-
post, is our post for any updates dealing with the
Yeah.
new school, contact District 300?
yeah,
That's
that's,
the only question I'm asking really.
Well-
They're out of you guys.
there you go. So please check the D300 website.
For updates.
For updates.
Maybe it'd be good for us to figure out.
What
who
provoked
D300
that whole
is.
conversation is the fact that D300 would not bus those kids.
And they said in a meeting, and I will have the exact timestamp of it, that they will bust those kids. When she wasn't the
Susan Hartman was on
she
the
wasn't
board.
the superintendent yet.
Actually, I think she was there.
I think she was this chief operating officer.
She was actually appointed the day after, you're right, the day after the
Maybe she
groundbreaking.
was in
That was the day after the groundbreaking for that school that she was appointed.
Yeah, but this is before the school was approved, when we were going through the
Oh,
developer
yeah.
agreements, and she was one of the, I think she was
Yeah,
chief
you're right.
operating officer, and the board brought it up because they said they did the traffic study, and there was a big conversation. And she said that even though it was across the street, that they would be busing the kids because there wasn't going to be lights there, and then that.
If that's true, I'm really shocked because
So that's why I'm going back to find the actual stamp, and I may be wrong, but remember, we asked like clarifying multiple times. So what we understand is they live in Lakewood and they're going to this school, you're gonna have a bus that literally just drives across the street because we're not willing to put in cross lanes.
the reason I remember differently is that I don't see why there wouldn't have been a debate about a light then.
There was a debate about light,
But
and we were told we had no say-so because this traffic study didn't warrant it. And if a traffic study doesn't warrant it, even though we were arguing that the traffic study was done in December when school was out, during COVID when the schools are shut down, and wasn't representative of the actual traffic number, and then we were told, I think either by the engineering company or whoever it was, that they used a COVID multiplier and they used.
I remember all that. The only point
Yeah.
I'm making is.
So that-
If the school district was busing, none of that would have been necessary.
No, because that wasn't happening, that's when it was brought up that that's how the kids were going to get there. There wasn't a discussion of just a flashing light and a crosswalk. So I'm gonna look it up and I'll get it to you and email it to you. It's not for this meeting, but,
That would be very material to current discussions if that were true, because there still might be an issue with the school busing. So that I can't talk about it.
yeah, that's fine.
So would it be appropriate to say, please check the D300 website for updates?
Is there a point of contact? Because I don't know, do they have, is it on their website for construction updates or is
I
there?
was
a-
looking
They have
for
a
that.
transportation person.
But that's
Well, I
not a
meant the-
D300 person, that's Durham,
Yeah, the
they
building,
outsource
like the
that.
construction update of the building, who would? Okay, I didn't know if we had like a person that they said, if your community has questions, call this number or go to
I
this
mean,
site.
yeah, I have a contact for transportation and a contact.
But your contact is different than who they probably want.
That's what I don't
General
know. I mean, I don't know who, if it were us, we have the public call our transportation director, but I don't know who they.
Gotcha, understood, okay. Maybe it is.
And
on
I've
the website.
read all the recent updates from the superintendent, I haven't seen anything.
The school looks great,
Yeah, it looks
it
nice.
looks really nice.
Especially from above. Driving by that little bridge. I've never
Oh.
actually driven back in there because I don't.
I actually like the view of the school. I know it's kind of off topic, but when you're going down 20 versus
Yeah.
when you go down Big Timber Road, because Big Timber, you don't see any windows or
Right.
I was thinking
really
the same
anything,
thing.
but when you go down 20, it looks really nice from the backside.
That's actually what I was talking about. These are very nice pictures of all these children. And European. No, I don't see anything in the most recent one. And I have to admit, I have not been to any school board meetings lately, so.
They have
Yeah,
the time, they have the timeline on
I
there.
can give her a call and find out, what is it that you want to do? You want to refer them to the right person?
Yes. so
Or
that they
just the
don't-
right resource, like if they say go to the website, because there is on the school construction, they have like a timeline and it does have a presentation to the board on May 10th, 2022. And
Mhm.
so that may be like where they say just send them to the website, but
Yeah,
just
maybe.
where do we send people for information?
Because we just want to send them. to
There's
the
the
right place.
FAQs on there and school boundaries, so it seems like a really good resource.
It doesn't say anything about the crossing.
I have, yeah. I don't
Not
see
at
it
this
here.
time. I like that.
I'm gonna look at the presentation to the board and see, oh, it's a YouTube. I'll watch this.
No, you're really
Yeah, it's
not.
about a 3 hour.
Yes.
I had to look at something on that not long ago, so I'll look at it.
Yeah, I think it's important that we don't send them to the wrong person and then have that person be upset because we just sent a bunch of name and
Let me just say that
voicemail.
there's nothing official about the crossing right now, and until there is, I don't think we should say it.
No. I think we're
I don't
not on
think
the
we
crossing,
want
it's
to.
more of the overall school construction update.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I think all we want to say is, you know. hey,
On schedule to
as
open as,
In this fall.
Yeah. New in the village. is
New elementary school.
Yeah.
Big Timber Elementary.
Yep.
Mhm.
and they have a mascot too.
Oh, do they?
Yes. Badgers? Yeah, Wisconsin Badgers.
Badgers?
Yep, and they chose out of they had 4 pictures of badgers and they chose the friendly badger. You guys didn't see that either? Come on, get with
Are these
it.
like sort of baby
Was
badgers?
that a spoof?
All right.
A what?
Was that a spoof?
Are
It's a
they-
couple years ago, who was the
No, I think
principal
it's
over there? He
legit,
did a big
Oh.
Facebook post and he said, nobody understands the Hampshire Whipper, so we're changing it to the Hampshire Chipmunk or squirrel.
That's
or
right.
something.
It was an April.
I was
Fool's.
like, it took me a while to realize I'm being punked here, but I was like, are you kidding me? And he was walking with a cartoon squirrel or something. It was very funny, but
I was more interested in which of the 4 personalities they chose of the badger.
I didn't see that
So we'll have to,
in my most
What is
recent
that elementary school?
unlucky.
There was a tough, ferocious badger. Lori told me all 4 of them, and they chose the nice badger.
that seems.
Or maybe he was he might have been the energetic badgers. So the Big Timber Badgers, BGBs.
yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so yeah, just please check the D300 website for updates on school construction, yeah? Does that sound
I think that's
appropriate?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's taken care of. We talked about streetscape. I did add back in the water conservation ideas. Maybe if we can find something about water conservation issues. It never hurts to conserve what we have.
There's no reason we can't promote what's on the signs, it's just that we don't.
Right. Well, it never hurts to just remind people, please check your houses, make sure you're not flooding your neighbor's basement. Again.
It's like somebody did that to your basement.
No, they were cleaning out their
Well, I love my sprinkler.
4-wheelers that they
20 people dealt with it. I forgot to turn it off. So now I have a timer.
There you go. It helps when we're just busy. We did change the date of our regular meeting. Thank you. PR strategy says that we should discuss that in this meeting. So any suggestions?
Well, if you recall, you have a budget this year.
I was looking at the minutes from last time.
Oh, I was looking at your agenda. Good to
Yeah.
see it on there.
It was, discussion of PR strategy should be brought up at the next meeting. And so I just,
It doesn't have to be that. Actually, I thought you were going to
You
go
can be
every,
announcements.
yeah, I thought you were going to go every other month when we talked the last time about these. But so it doesn't have to be now. But we did, you have a budget this year. Community, I don't think the special events committee has met. I can see them here in the link.
we're gonna meet Tuesday.
Okay.
This coming
So there
Tuesday.
may be some, I think we set aside $1,000 for that. And the newsletter's funded, as you know. And then the question is, do we want to bring somebody in to help us with social media?
So I was having a thought on this.
Mhm.
Love your feedback. You know how we talked about bringing in somebody to do the marketing, social media, or do we outsource to an agency?
Mhm.
And I realized that we've got 3 or 4 governmental agencies in town. None of them have a dedicated marketing person. There are people that wear multiple hats, right? They may be a special events coordinator that also does all the marketing because they picked up that responsibility, or it's just something that somebody does for a newsletter. And I thought, what if the 4, and the 4 being township, library, park district here, what if we all pitched in and found somebody or an agency or whoever it was to do the marketing for, and split it 4 ways? And do you end up getting more for value for the funds than trying to find somebody to carve out a small piece of time for what you can afford?
Well, actually, as you know, A5 proposed that at the very beginning, that this would become kind of a theme. I think the chamber is the only organization that's actually used our logo. But we have offered the logo to all 2 variations on it. It seems like there might have been one other, but I can't.
And not that the look and feel has to be the same, they can still have their own branding, but somebody that, you know, if you had I think one advantage is if you had a single person helping to market all four of them, they also are a person that knows what's going on in all four to market and how do they collaborate and.
Mhm.
So I don't know, I was like,
Shared
how-
service is just a question.
because we've talked about in, not necessarily personnel, but in other ways of like. If one organization has a lift truck and the other one needs it, or, you know, we've shared things like that before, but what if we had something like this in the program?
The thing is, trying to hire a full-time person right now would be harder than trying to hire a part-time person.
And maybe it's not a person, maybe it's A5 or an agency that we say, actually, our fiscal budget can cover X amount rather than a smaller amount. What do we get different, right?
I can check with the other executive directors unless you guys prefer to check with other elected officials.
I just brought it to us for discussion. I have no idea how both of you feel on it.
I would think it would be worth pursuing, just a question. Never hurts to investigate, especially if we're talking about ways to get more bang for our taxpayer dollar. That's always kind of the goal, right?
Yeah.
And
Until now, we've been kind of looking for somebody in town that has those skills, that does it for other
we
people.
don't have, there's no job application for that, right?
No, I mean, that's what I have
Oh.
in mind.
Okay, got it.
And I have 2 or 3
Okay.
people in mind as well,
Okay,
but we're not to that point yet. So
Gotcha.
the point is to discuss what they would do for us.
Mhm.
What would you like them to do?
well, I think we discussed that in the past. We wanted them to attend many of the functions. We wanted them to know about them ahead of time, advertise those ahead of time, manage different social media sites, right? Make sure that people know about the events in advance so they can attend them.
Which functions specifically? Writing the articles, writing posts, posting them?
Yes, all of the above.
I think
thus far.
one function would just be described as managing the village's social media presence.
Mhm.
Right, that's publication, writing. We did talk about that at the beginning while we were earning some trust that we would probably want to have somebody review before it gets posted and like an
Mhm.
editorial oversight. Posting, I think the attend events is posting pictures on social, like that all, to me, that all kind of
That's,
revolved around the social.
we talked about Twitter using other things besides just Facebook where you can do real-time sharing.
Right.
Yes.
Rather than just like from events.
Yes. Yes, agreed. I'm still of that mind, that is something I would like for that person to be able to do. And we had talked about 10 hours a month is what we had initially proposed. Does that still fit with what we're looking for?
I think to start,
Mhm.
right, see what we
Yeah.
get for that, and
Yeah,
if they come back and they're like, I don't have enough time under 2 and 10 hours to do all the stuff you want me to do, then
Mhm.
reevaluate, or,
Yeah,
Or if they're looking for things to do.
I mean, we're going from nothing to something, so a
Right.
little test would be
Right.
good.
Yeah. And the summer months are kind of busy. It would be nice if we could get, just somebody to do it for a couple of months and then reevaluate,
See how it
maybe a
works.
short-term
Yeah.
contract kind of thing.
Well, let me make some contacts then.
Okay.
And, do you want to check with the other agencies also?
I mean, we don't have to, I was throwing it out there as an option, but I think you're right. If this is like a temporary thing, I don't know that we get somebody full-time for a temporary, but we can float the ideas and say, this is what we're looking at doing, do you have those needs? They may come back and say, I already have somebody doing that, so we're good.
I think the first obvious thing is what platform do they use? What software do they use? Are they using different hosting companies and all that stuff? Because
Right.
one person trying to do multiple different things might be, unless they're a specialist at that,
Right.
understand all of that.
Well, usually the platform, like, if you're using a social, what's the one
Community
that
web.
Mike talks about?
Community web
It's,
is what we use versus
I know what you
GoDaddy.
mean.
well, but that's our website.
Yeah.
The
Right.
social media, I think it's Hootsuite,
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
but you can have the logins for anything even outside of the village and use that
Yeah.
to log in. So if you have this one person that uses a tool like that, and they've got the park and the township and the village, they can manage all of that in one area.
And in one post, they can share it to multiple accounts.
Right, so like the chamber street dance, they could, if we had one person helping all the organizations, they could write one really good post and then share it in the account of every single,
Mhm.
just to have the maximum exposure.
Because I've actually had a couple people in mind that I was you know, asking like, what would it take for somebody to do this job and how would that work? And just trying to probe
Yeah.
what the parameters of that look like, so.
And maybe we start it with a person for 10
Mhm.
hours a month and see how it goes and then go to the other agencies and say, here's what we tested, it's working well. Would you be interested in having this person help you out as well?
Okay, yeah, that,
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Rather than just
Run a
starting
pilot
big.
first.
Yeah.
Figure out what
yeah,
the,
trying to get several of us off the ground, it could take a while before we can get started.
you know,
All right, well, let me see what I can find between now and the next meeting. And,
Cause like the Hampshire's very own stuff and a lot of that.
so it would be great to get some of these things that are
we
coming
have
up in
somebody
our
doing
next
that already.
newsletter.
Writing it, yes. But we need to promote that great writing.
Yeah.
We did.
Okay, so can you repeat what you just said that you were gonna do? Because,
I'm going to investigate potential people who would be under contract, who we might hire as a contract. I don't think we need to hire an employee here.
No, contractor, I
So
said.
then maybe we find a social media person in Hampshire or very close to Hampshire, so they can attend events.
great,
Who could become our social media.
okay,
And with a contractor, if it's temp and it works out and you're like, hey, this person's phenomenal, we need to consider a transition to full-time, great. If it doesn't work out, it's a contractor and you can figure out other methods.
so are you going to investigate what the contract would look like, or are you gonna
And
start?
people.
And people,
So if you
okay.
have any suggestions,
I
send them to
do.
me.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Okay, and that'll get us through that. Upcoming events, got it, newsletter topics, got it, any announcements that you guys can think of? Anything you want to share with us over here? No, no?
You guys are really bored today.
No,
I just came to listen and see what's going on and, you know, we're interested.
Anything you can think of?
nothing specific, no.
Wow, it's the quietest we've ever been. Okay.
Because you got people watching you.
No, I don't think there's anything that we haven't already.
It's because Bill
Just-
Rossetti's not up there asking questions about it.
Yeah, and Linda's not here to ask me
He'll just watch
questions.
the
and-
video now this time.
Yeah. Okay, well, and I can drop this off at his house on my way home as well. All right,
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn. That's the next item. I didn't want to.
yeah, no. Okay, can I get a second on that?
I'll second that.
Thanks. Okay, well, all in favor?
I
Aye.
Not eligible.
Yep, any opposed? Okay, just checking for other people. All right, sounds good. Adjourned it, what is that, 7:28?
All right, I'm gonna go get one of those wherever you guys
All
can.
right.
Yep, got a water coming out. Yeah.